Hello guys! So, welcome to another episode of Histopathology Lecture by yours truly, no? And today we're going to talk about two topics. So, dalawang topic po ito. And before we start, I'd like to share to you a quote, which is, "Tomorrow will be too late. It's now or never," by Elvis Presley. Okay? So, when I was a student, I know, same tayo, we like to procrastinate things, 'di ba? Pero what helped me to graduate, pass the board exam early, is that because I always keep this quote in mind, 'di ba? So mas madaling tandaan, 'di ba, itong quote na to. Like for example, isipin mo na, do what you can do for today, for tomorrow might be too late. Gawin mo yung mga dapat mong gawin ngayon, like study now, then party hard later. Parang ganun, good guys, 'di ba? Mas masarap mag-party, maglaag with friends kung wala kang backlogs or wala kang iniisip na mababang prelims, mababang midterm, yung mababang grades, yung wala kang something na that could drag you down or ruin the fun, 'di ba? So mas masarap yung feeling na maglaag ng alam mong pasado ka, 'di ba? So always keep this in mind, guys, no? If you're not studying, no, you can start now. It's never too late po, 'di ba? So kung bukas ka pa mag-study, late na 'yon. So start today, 'di ba? Start doing things what you can do para sa future self ninyo. Okay? So our topics, guys, will be ito silang dalawa, no? Titled Pre-Analytical Factors and Cross-Examination. So at the end of this, ang gusto ko na learning outcomes ninyo would be you were able to identify pre-analytic factors that affects tissue processing, define cross-examination, and explain its purpose. Also enumerate the tools used for cross-examination, list the different specimen categories for cross-examination, outline the procedures of cross-examination, as well as define the elements of an acceptable cross description. So, I know na ito silang lahat, majority ng sa cross-exam is na gawa na natin sa ating laboratory activity. But please do take note that that was just the very basic po ng pag-cross exam. So here in this lecture, we're going to dive more or dive deeper po sa kung ano nga ba talaga yung cross examination, ano yung mga kailangan dyan, anong dapat gawin, anong dapat isulat, no? So mas higher level na po yung itatackle natin today. Okay? So for our topic outline, we have ito, pre-analytical factors, overview, the materials, the categories, yung gross description. I'll be showing you some examples of good gross description. We have the sectioning and other specimen consideration. So purely, guys, ang topic natin is pre-analytical factors po. So yung before mag-start yung gross examination, yung actually before natin receive yung specimen, meron kasi yung mga gina-consider dyan, as well as yung actual na pag-gross exam. Okay, so I think we are all ready. So let's start. So for the pre-analytical factors, we need to consider the ischemia time. Okay, so alam naman natin lahat what do we mean by ischemia, 'di ba? So ischemia, ulitin ko lang, is a condition in which, 'di ba, the blood flow and oxygen is restricted or reduced in a part of the body. So ibig sabihin, meron tayong tinatawag na ischemia time. So, ano ito siya? It is the time interval between surgical intervention and proper fixation of the removed specimen. Okay? So, under dito, guys, as what I've told you before, sa biopsy, di ba, meron tayong surgical theater. Dito po banda yung sa surgery. After ng sa surgery, guys, kukunin mismo yung sample, no? Dito na yung sa pathological anatomy. After that, ita-travel na yan siya sa laboratory for gross examination, no? Pero meron pong initial fixation dyan na nangyayari. After dito sa surgery, guys, after makat ng surgeon, no, buwan na sa table ng patient, the moment na kinuha ng specimen dyan, depende po sa specimen, merong specimens po na gina-fix agad. Meron yung ibang specimen na dapat i-gross exam agad. So yun yung mga malalaman ninyo today. Okay? So yung travel time po ng yung interval between the surgical pati yung sa fixation po, that is the ischemia time. Okay? So, we also have prolonged ischemia time. Okay? So, based dito sa diagram, guys, as you can see, itong from fixation to embedding as well as the staining, itong fixation, embedding, and staining, they are all standardized po. So, nakadepende sa type of fixative, 'di ba? Kung, for example, formalin yung gamit, so, ibig sabihin, meron ng standard na time kung ilang hours lang siya dun sa formalin, ilang hours lang siya sa ating embedding, no, yung sa ating paglagay natin sa wax, no, standardized na siya guys, no, yung size, yung mga ginagamit na materials, those are all standardized, especially sa staining po, no, H&E staining are all standardized, but different laboratories, no, despite standardized siya, pwede naman po na parang may i-edit ka. For example, hindi na masyadong malakas yung hematoxylin nyo sa staining, so you can prolong that time. So, pero standard pa rin siya, no? Kasi yung starting ng pag-stain natin is very crucial, man good po siya guys. Hindi pwede ma-overstain, hindi rin pwede ma-understain. So, that's why we need to standardize. Okay? So, from here to here, that is yung gina-consider dyan natin yung ischemia time. If prolonged na ba siya, hindi pa siya prolonged, no? Kasi we have what we call warm and cold ischemia. So, proceed tayo with the next slide. So, we have the warm and cold ischemia time. Okay? So, pag sinabi mong warm ischemia time, it occurs during operation when blood supply of the tissue is cut off. Here, it starts a series of biochemical changes that leads to tissue poor quality and also affected by the whole surgical procedure. Whereas ang cold ischemia time naman is the interval between tissue removal from the patient and arrival in the pathology laboratory for grossing. So, we also have pag prolong ang cold ischemia time, anong mangyayari dito? The temperature of the specimen will gradually reach the external temperature and autolysis and drying of the surface may occur. Okay? So, kapag dito sa warm ischemia time guys, this is basically yung parang the moment na gi-cut yung blood supply from the tissue, the moment na kinuha yung sample, no, from the patient, kasi hindi kasi yan agad-agad na malagay sa container na merong formalin or madiretso agad sa laboratory. So, dyan pa lang magsa-start na yung time ng warm ischemia. Okay, so during the time na nag-start na to, ito yung nangyayari po. Series of biochemical changes, 'di ba? So kung matagal ito, guys, no, yung tissue quality natin will be poor, 'di ba? That's why sinabi dito affected by the whole surgical procedure. Kasi nga kung matagal sila doc, yung surgeon during the operation, naapektuhan dito ang ating warm ischemia time. Okay? So when naman siya mag-start ang cold ischemia time? Mag-start ang cold ischemia time, guys, no, kapag natanggal na yung tissue sa patient, tapos yung travel time from the surgical room to the laboratory po. So, yan yung cold ischemia time. So, what if, di ba, gaya ng sinabi ko sa inyo, karamihan ng surgery is usually malapit lang sa laboratory. Walang surgical room ata na hospital sa, I think here in Davao, na nasa pinakamataas yung room, nasa 8th floor. Usually, yung kaya yung stairs yan, guys. Kasi if ever na hindi maghintay pa ng elevator yung nurse, yung so it can be, 'di ba, dugay kaayo, 'di ba? So bigyan ko ng example. Halimbawa, siguro sa, let's say sa Tri-B, ang best na lagyan mo ng halimbawa ang laboratory is nasa ground floor. Ang best na lagyan ng surgical room is nasa 3rd floor or 2nd floor para at least malakad lang, 'di ba? Kaysa naman maghintay pa ng elevator. So from there, diyan na mag-start yung cold ischemia time. The moment na tinanggal na yung tissue, 'di ba? Nalagay na siya sa formalin or hindi siya, kung yung specimen natin requires no fixation. So dapat idagan siya sa lab for gross examination. Kasi nga guys, kapag prolong yung ating cold ischemia time, ang mangyayari yan, yung tissue sample mo will adapt with the temperature outside, no? So let's say kung ang room temperature natin is around 28 degrees Celsius, so kukunin yun, eventually magiging same yung temperature ng specimen as well as yung ating room temperature. So pag ganun guys, autolysis and drying of the surface may occur, 'di ba? Parang ganun siya. So that is called ischemia time. Okay, so these are examples of pre-analytical factors. So we also have pre-analytical fixation. Ito yung ginasabi ko guys, no. So it depends on the specimen. Kay meron mga good specimens guys na need siya fresh, na basahin ng pato, 'di ba? As we all know, what we tackle with the fresh tissue examination po, if ang gusto ng ang meant ng ng procedure is to observe yung mga mitotic processes, 'di ba? Kay need dapat fresh yung tissue, no need to fix. But here in biopsy, 'di ba? For the pag kailangan ng fixation, meron din tayong tinatawag na pre-analytic fixation to be considered. Okay? Ano yung nandito? So, all parts of all parts to be examined must be initially fixed, 'di ba? Because earlier fixation equals better tissue preservation. Yes po. However, kapag pangit naman yung pag-fix nyo or mali yung pag-fix natin, it can impede tissue processing. Okay? So, we need to consider din to observe proper tissue to fixative ratio. Okay? At alam naman ninyo to lahat, 'di ba? Ang proper tissue to fixative ratio. So, the proper tissue to fixative ratio is 1:20, no? Kasi tissue to fixative man. So, 1:20. This can be read in your Bruce Gregorius po na page 94 under, I think, number 29 po, under general precautions in handling and fixation of specimens. Basta nandun yan siya sa, sa Bruce Gregorius natin na page 94, number 29. Okay? So, another thing to consider is 3 to 5 millimeters thick tissues are fixed for 6 to 48 hours. Bigger than that, kay need po siya ka ng longer time. Okay, but this is the recommended po. 5 mm thick tissues and large tissues such as limbs po are sectioned prior to fixation. So usually guys, kapag mga paa, mga kamay, minsan hindi yan buong leg ang idala sa laboratory. Sila, yung mga surgeon na po yan nagakat sa taas, no? Hiwalay niya na yung paa, hiwalay niya na yung hita, yung parang mga ganun, good guys, no? So, they are sectioned prior to fixation, or else fixation will not be complete and may occur only at the periphery of the tissue. Okay? So, please consider po or basahin natin yung sa libro, yung mga pre-analytic fixation. Okay? So, let's move on to the next slide. So, we also have specimen reception. Obviously, guys, since this is under pre-analytical factors po, kasi 'di ba, i-receive natin ng specimen, tama? So here, specimens must be put in a container labeled with the patient's name and specimen source or site and with pathology requisition form. Yes po guys, kasi importante yan siya na dapat merong histopath request, kasi diyan kasi nakalagay lahat Diyan nakalagay yung patient's name, yung data, yung mga notes or parang notes ng surgeon para sa pathologies, yung parang ganun, good guys. Usually ang histopath request para siyang ganito, no? Nakalagay talaga doon lahat kung saan yung site na kinuha, left ba to, right ba to na organ, kasi 'di ba meron tayong, for example, fallopian tube. We have left and right fallopian tube. So we need to know kung ano yung pinasa. Left and right kidney. So we need to know anong part 'yon. So lahat 'yan guys, ng details na 'yan, nakasulat 'yan lahat doon guys. And aside sa ating histopathology form, we also have yung ating container na properly labeled. So as you can see here in the picture, yung container natin po guys, kay meron siyang barcodes, no? In this particular, good guys, kaya naga-barcode system na sila. So barcode, it can be pwede rin dyan, no? Sa laboratory namin, ginapasulatan talaga namin ng pangalan dito. Tapos details po ng patient sa container din talaga. Okay, so per container merong detail po talaga. Okay? So, ano naman yung mga criteria for rejection of specimens? So, we have discrepancies between requisition form and specimen labels, no? Unlabeled, mislabeled, and inappropriately identified specimen, 'di ba? So, kapag mali yung nakasulat sa requisition form, hindi siya nag-match dito sa specimen na nag-receive, reject ang specimen po. Hindi yan tatanggapin sa laboratory. Kaya nga, may big factor din ang surgery po dito guys, ang surgical nurse or yung surgeon natin, kasi sila magod yan mag-label guys, no? Kapag unlabeled naman, obviously bawal tanggapin. Mali yung label, bawal din tanggapin. Kapag inappropriately identified yung specimen, kapag minsan hindi nila ma-identify mismo yung specimen na dinala nila guys, ang ginagawa yan kay, sometimes here in the Philippines, na-try ko to siya sa lab, hindi sure yung patient sa sample na dinala niya. Basta nakalagay lang sa histopath request niya is for biopsy. Hindi sure yung patient na galit pa siya ng MATI. So, what we did is we asked, no? Gi-ask ko yung pathologist kung pwede niya bang tignan. And sabi man ni Doc na identify man agad ni Doc yung specimen. Sabi niya, okay lang yan. Ano man yan siya na specimen. Ganito, ganyan. So, since identify ni Doc, okay lang sa pato, gi-receive namin. But, here guys, no, kapag wala talaga, inappropriately identify yung specimen, reject natin siya. But you can also do, yung last resort natin is DNA identification. If wala yung pato, pero available yung DNA identification, yeah, that can be also done. para ma-identify lang yung specimen. What if yun lang yung kulang niya, no? Another thing is kapag leaking yung specimen containers, no, dapat magod guys, leak proof yung ating specimen containers, no, kasi nga 'di ba may formalin yan. So dapat yung ratio na 1:20, no, yung tissue to fixative ratio is dapat ma-meet natin yun. And also we also need itong clinical data or history and other necessary info. Obviously pag wala ito guys, reject ang specimen. Sir, what if nagmamakaawa na talaga yung patient, sir, kay galing pa sa malayong lugar? Pwede ka naman magbagandang loob, no? Ako dating ginagawa ko sa laboratory is kapag kulang yung details sa histopath request, ang ginagawa ko is tinatawagan ko yung hospital na nagpadala o yung number mismo ng surgeon na nagpadala. If 3 tries walang sumasagot sa tawag, nire-reject ko na yung specimen, and then sila ang pinapatawag ko, yung patient ang pinapakontak ko. Usually guys, minsan maawa yung pathologist namin, tinatanggap niya, no, sabihin niya lang na sige tanggapin na lang, tapos ang gina-label lang namin sa final result ng, for example, specimen type, gina-label lang namin is not specified, or minsan yung parang NA. Yun lang yung nilalagay namin doon. Kaya para pagbalik ng result sa hospital, alam ng surgeon or alam ng surgical ward or yung surgery room nila doon ng surgical team, alam nila na meron mali sa kanilang ginawa, no, na wala nila na label. And usually inaakuman nila yung responsibility na yan, no, pero depende yan kung magpayag yung pathologist, ha. Nagkataon lang kasi mababait yung mga pato na nakatrabaho ko. Okay, so let's proceed with the next slide guys. So mag-start na tayo. Once we receive the specimen, we have specimen accessioning. So this is the first and most important step in histopathology outside that tissue processing procedure. Okay? So here, specimens are given a unique identification number that will identify each specimen for each patient. So ito yung example ng kanilang accession number, no? Kasi sa ibang bansa kasi guys, naka-barcode na sila, no? So yan, tatak-tatak na lang. Once natapos na accessioning guys, always remember, gina-accession yan lahat. Sulatan yung histopath request, tatakan din yung patient, yung patient sample, yung container niya, both sa cover, yung sa takip, pati sa body. Lahat yan guys, sinusulatan yan. Okay? So, after this, guys, we have yung ating accessioning proper talaga sa kanilang histopath worksheet. Okay? So, during specimen accessioning po, here, indicating codes may be used for the following. So, we have surgical, autopsy, and cytology, no? SAC, di ba? So, depende pa rin yan sa every laboratory. Kung yung laboratory nyo for the surgical patho, kayong gamit nila is SP, okay lang din yan. Kung for the autopsy, kayang gamit nila kay AP, okay lang din yan. Then sa cytology, minsan ang ginagamit nila is yung word na cyto, di ba? Cyto-1, parang ganon. Okay lang din yun. Depende kasi ang format, no, per laboratory. Pero yung universal natin na component ng mga accession numbers are the same, such as this one. Sample format of accession number, indicating code, the year, the ID number of the specimen. So here, S94 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So here you can see that the S here indicates na surgical patho siya, so biopsy. Yung 94 here indicate na anong year ngayon, 'di ba? Anong year nila na-receive yung specimen? So 1994. And then ikailan siya na specimen, no? Or yung ID number ng specimen. So here ang ID number niya is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Example ng tinuro ko sa inyo, 'di ba? Yung SP22, 'di ba? For example, SP22 800 siya na specimen. So SP-22-800. Okay lang yun siya, guys, no? Baliktarin mo, unahin mo yung ikailan siya before the year. Okay lang din. Gawin mong SP-800-22. That's also okay. Okay? So dito yun siya, guys. Gina-indicate talaga yan siya dito. After masulat sa worksheet, kaya doon yun siya ginalagay. Ginadikita na yung mga container, yung mismong body, yung mismong takip ng specimen natin. Ingana siya, guys, no? So, yung accession number na yan, guys, usually manggod kaya wala nang name yung mga madala sa worksheet natin, no? Hindi na pinapansin masyado yan. Kasi yung slide natin, guys, yung final slide, accession number na lang kasi yan. minsan wala nang patient's name. So dapat dito pa lang tama na yung pagsulat natin. Kasi kung mabaliktad natin yan, Diyos ko, kawawa kayo or kawawa din ang patient, ma-misdiagnose siya, 'di ba? So let's proceed to the next slide. So we have in specimen accessioning, guys, no, we need to avoid serial accessioning of similar specimen types to reduce mix-up of specimen and cross-contamination. Obviously, this is correct po, no? We need to avoid. For example po, guys, halimbawa, merong dalawang container na binigay sa inyo for gastric biopsies siya, tapos isang patient lang yan, no need to indicate na mag-accession ka nito ng 800, SP22-800, tapos ito naman SP22-801. Wag na. Isang accessioning lang yan silang dalawa, no? So both sila is SP22-800 para at least sa worksheet natin doon na kayo mag-indicate ng 2 specimen yung nandoon sa inyo, 2 yung specimen na na-receive, 'di ba? Yung tinuro ko na A, B, parang ganun. Pero isang accession number lang sila. Okay? So here in this example, guys, no, we have gastric biopsy 1 and gastric biopsy 2, tapos surgical biopsy. So paano natin siya i-accession? We could accession this as SP, let's say ikat 2023 ngayon, tapos sila yung first specimen natin, so 001. So sa specimen ito siya, si container 1 will be the A, container 2 will be the B. So mangyari dyan, SP23001-A1, tapos ang another, pag na sa worksheet na natin, meron ka na ding B1. Parang ganun siya, guys, no? Indicate mo sino si A, sino si B. Itong surgical biopsy, guys, no? Another accession na naman to siya, no? Siya na si SP23-002. Ana siya, guys. Okay? So, I hope na-gets ninyo, ha? And minsan, guys, if kaya namin sa histopath na, for example, itong dalawang container na to, if kaya naman siya na i-mix into one container lang, no? Ginagawa namin yan. Depende na yun sa inyo. Pero, we always indicate po sa result, no, sa final report na we received, like for example, we received 2 containers. 2 containers. Containers. So, indicate yan talaga na na-receive yung 2 containers but joined into 1. Ayan. So, ibig sabihin, dalawa yung container na receive natin, pero, inisa lang natin sila. Para for easier accessioning. Nga na siya, guys. Okay, so, yung kanina, guys, is an example of kapag, what if ito siya separate patient, no? Ito naman siya kay isang patient lang. So, what if ngayon kay itong silang tatlo kay sa isang patient lang. So, paano mo siya i-accession? So, i-accession natin siya by, gawin natin, ito sila na specimen, indicate yapo na to siya. Ito si A, ito si B, ito si C. Okay, so mangyari, let's say, same pa din, no? SP23-800, diba? So, mag-dash, ano ka na dito, guys? Dash A, dash B, dash C. So, same na din yan sila lahat, no? Isang patient na kasi, so, 1 accession number lang. Usually, ang the best na gawin natin is 1 accession number per patient, no? Hindi per container. Kaya mahirap yun, guys, mag-tracking na. So, ito siya, isang patient lang to siya. 1 patient only. So, let's say si SP23-800A kay ito, no? Nakagawa ka ng 3 blocks. So, maglabas dyan, maging A1, meron siyang A2, meron din siyang A3. Diba? Ito naman siya, ito, kaya nakagawa ka ng 4 blocks. So, dito, mangyari, meron kang B1, B2, B3, and B4. Tapos sa C kay isa lang. So, C1 lang. Ay, dalawa. So, C1 and C2. Pero kung isa lang yung nagawa mo sa C, no? Isa lang yung sample mo, naging, tawag yung totally submitted yung sa C, mangyari dyan kay SP23-800-C lang. Okay, sana na-gets ninyo, guys, ha. Ito yung for the accessioning po na part. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. Okay guys, so after ng specimen accessioning, we'll proceed now to gross examination. Actually guys, depende po na siya sa laboratory no or sa mga histotechs if i-gross exam nila agad ang specimen. So, minsan, what we do in the laboratory po, gina-receive namin lahat ng specimen for the day until 3 p.m. Tapos, 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. We start accessioning lang muna, no? Gina-accession lang. Kung konti yung specimen, guys, na ma-receive, after na accessioning, diretso na agad for gross exam. Yeah, okay lang din yun, no? Okay lang din na after ninyo mag-accession from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. tomorrow morning na kayo mag-gross exam. That's also okay, no? Or depende po na siya if kanang naa sila doc na mag-gross exam for today. Nabawa, malaki yung specimen tapos hindi kaya ng medtech na siya ang mag-gross exam. By the book talaga, pathologist talaga nag-gross exam. So, for example, nabawa ang specimen is yung tabso. So, nangyayari gina-accession lang namin yan. Then tomorrow, kung nandyan si doc, sinasabihan namin siya na merong for gross examination or tinetext namin sila the day before na doc merong for gross examination para bukas mabisita niya. Okay? So for the gross examination guys, no, it is consists of describing the specimen and placing all or parts of it into a plastic cassette in preparation for tissue processing, 'di ba? Kaya nga meron tayo yung tinatawag na totally submitted in certain number of blocks or representative sections lang, 'di ba? So gross examination is also one of the basis of pathologist diagnosis. Of course naman guys, 'di ba? So yung ating gross examination guys, kahit for example, medtech ang nag-perform, binabasa talaga yan ng pathologist guys para meron silang idea kung ano yung nakita natin when we first handled the specimen. Kasi nga, gross examination is ideally para siyang first touch, no? Tayo yung first touch ng specimen after makuha sa surgery. Okay? So, basis due siya for pathologist diagnosis din. Okay? So, it also involves selection of elements that appear to be of clinical significance for histologic examination. So, as a medical technologist, guys, that's why we study histology, anatomy, 'di ba? Kasi we need to know ano yung mga normal and abnormal types of tissue, yung mga abnormalities sa particular part ng tissue na yan. Kasi nga, yun yung kukunan natin ng specimen. Okay? So, karamihan man good ng sample na pinapasa sa lab is mga meron talagang problema or hinahanapan siya ng mga possible problems na meron yun, 'di ba? So, that is for the gross examination. So, paano nga ba gawin ang gross examination? So, we need the materials for gross examination. So, we have the cutting tools such as scissors, forceps, 'di ba? Blade holders and blades. So, ito sila, no? Meron din ditong mga saw, yung mga lagari, guys. Minsan kung bone yung specimen na pinasa. Okay? So, kung titingnan natin dito guys, for the cutting yung kanina, we also have gross table or the gross workstation. Actually guys, this is a high-end gross exam table, no? So, kailangan meron talagang sink. Obviously, dapat merong sink guys. We have the tabletop. We have a good water supply. Meron din dapat irrigation system, fume extraction and ventilation. Kasi nga, since samples are usually fixed in formalin guys para dili pud sakit sa ato ang eyes, no, kailangan merong fume extraction and good ventilation system. And then we also have water disposal unit. So actually ito talaga yung mga magandang kusina for histopathology na mga stuff, no. So let's proceed sa next slide guys. So in gross examination guys, there are specimen categories, no. For the specimen category A, these are specimens only requiring transfer from container to tissue cassette. Parang maliliit na daan yung specimen guys, no. Diretso na siya from the container, gross exam, then lagay agad sa cassette. No need to cut, no need to open. Diretso na siya transfer guys. So example of this is a cervical biopsy. 'Di ba? Napakaliit ng specimen, diretso na siya sa cassette. So for the category B, we have specimens requiring transfer but with standard sampling, counting, weighing, or slicing. So majority po ng specimen sa histopath guys falls under category B. Kasi dito guys, need niyo siya i-count, i-weigh, i-slice, i-measure, yung anagod. So halos kompleto na dito sa category B, guys, no? So these are the example po. So ito siya, for example, itong specimen na to, after niya let's say na-receive niya na specimen kay itong 5 or itong 4. So ang mangyayari diyan, ika-count yan, no? Specimen consists of tan to brown, multiple pieces of tissue. So indicate yan doon, guys, no? That's why I told you na majority ng specimens na nare-receive natin sa histopath falls under category B. Okay? So we also have an parang differentiation, no? Ano ba pinag-iba ng category A pati category B specimen? So what falls under these categories? So for the category A, guys, no, we have the endometrium, we have the breast core biopsy. As you can see, these are all small specimen, guys, no, na normally nakat na daan ng surgeon sa taas, no, sa taas pa lang nakat na nila. We also have colonic series, as well as, when we say colonic series, guys, these are samples taken from different parts of the colon, no. We have itong sa ascending colon na part, the transverse colon, the descending colon, as well as the sigmoid colon. Okay, different parts of the colon po yan siya. For the category B, which is considered yung mga most frequent na nare-receive natin sa histopath lab, we have itong examples natin, no. We have small lipoma, small skin biopsy, as well as cervical LLETZ, or ang ating large loop excision of the transformation zone. So that's what LLETZ stands for. Ulitin ko ha, large loop excision of the transformation zone. Okay? So yan yung mga mag-fall under sa ating category B. Okay? So ito yung mga examples nila, guys. So for the category C naman, we also have itong mga specimen na to. So these are simple dissection, which simple dissection is required with sampling needing a low level of diagnostic assessment and or preparation. Obviously, guys, kay ito magod sila ng mga specimen, guys, sa category C, kay yung mga normal good na tinatanggal, yung parang ganun siya. For example, ang appendix, normal naman talaga na nagkakaroon ng appendectomy, no? That's why tinawag dito na low level of diagnostic assessment. So examples ng mga specimen dito, we have the prepuce, no, which is a medical term for foreskin. We also have the gallbladder, we also have the hemorrhoids, as well as yung ating appendix, guys, no. Usually simple dissection na to sila, and meron silang parang proper way of cutting din, 'di ba? So yan, that is for category C. For the category D, we have pigmented skin lesions. We also have the large intestine, no, such as na yung mga nakukuha natin if we have, or yung patient meron siyang Crohn's disease, no. By the way, Crohn's disease, guys, kaya ganito kalaking specimen natin, is an inflammatory bowel disease that causes chronic inflammation of the GI tract, no, which extends from your stomach and all the way down to your anus. So laki talaga siya, naga-inflame. Yan yung Crohn's disease. That's why pinapasa yung large intestine sa histopath lab. So we also have skin with markers, no. So ang markers dito na ginamin, guys, itong suture ng surgeon. So itong mga markers na to, guys, these are important because ito yung tinitignan din ng pathologies kung saan yung parang point of view or point of reference ng ating surgeon, no. Usually mga markers na yan kaya naka-indicate dyan sa histopath request kung ano yung para saan yung marker na yon, no, ginalagay ng surgeon dyan. Okay, so under category D, these are to which dissection and sampling is required, needing a moderate level of assessment. Okay, so for the category E naman, we have the thyroid carcinoma na mga sample, guys, no. Thyroid sample for medullary carcinoma. We also have the testis, no, for suspected seminoma. We also have yung breast, the whole breast po, guys, no. Ito siya, the whole breast, 'di ba? With markers pa din, 'di ba? So yung whole breast na yan for suspected breast cancer. And we also have the uterus for suspected endometrial cancer. So these specimens under category E requires complex dissection and sampling method. So ito na yung mga time na dapat pathologist na talaga mag nito, guys. Actually both category D, category E, kay as much as possible pathologist na ang naga gross exam nito. Okay? So, share ko lang sa inyo guys yung tinatawag nating TABSO, no? Which stands for Total Abdominal Hysterectomy and Bilateral Salpingo-Oophorectomy. Yan yung TABSO. Yan siya yung removal of the uterus, cervix, and both fallopian tubes as well as the ovaries. So, halos buong reproductive organ ng babae ang kinukuha sa TABSO. So, usually, pag ganyan nare-receive natin, during accessioning guys, isang accession number pa din yan sila. Pero, we categorize the A, we categorize yung B, no? Tayo nagalagay na A for uterus, B for left fallopian tube. Parang ganun siya guys, no? That's why, importante rin yung ating kaalaman during sa accessioning. Kasi mawala po sila doc if mali-mali ato ang pag-accession. Okay? So, tandaan, ulitin ko, both category D and E, no? Requires talaga na dapat pathologist o mag-gross exam. Actually, lahat dapat sa gross examination kay pato talaga dapat. Pero, in this case, guys, sa Pilipinas, no, pag mga under category D and E, kay mga pato na yan. The rest, kay kung kaya na medtech na. Okay? So, let's proceed with the next slide. Here we have specimens for gross description only. So, because the disease is not histologic level. So, meron din tayo guys ng mga sa histopath na tinatanggap ng mga specimen na only for gross examination lang. And this type of specimens kay, 'di ba, by the book, pato talaga nag-gross exam nito. Okay? So, ano yun sila guys? Actually, medyo marami to sila, no? We have accessory digits po, no? We also have itong ating bunions, also known as hallux valgus po, and hammer toe. So, ito yung ating mga accessory digits, guys. Yung mga sobrang kamay, sobrang finger, so ginapadala po na siya sa histopath, only for gross examination lang. Ito mga bunions natin, yung hallux valgus po. And we also have extraocular muscle from corrected surgery. So, usually, kapag mag-corrective surgery yung surgeon, guys, ginapadala niya yan siya sa histopath din ng specimen for gross description. Okay? So, we also have itong inguinal hernia sacs in adults, as well as nasal bone and cartilage from rhinoplasty. Okay? So, ito sila. These are for gross description only. As well as, meron din tayong another pa na batch na naman, which consists of prosthetic breast implants. We also have prosthetic heart bulbs without attached tissue, as well as tonsils and adenoids from children. Pati yung ating mismong umbilical hernia sacs sa children po guys, kinapadala rin yan siya, as well as the varicose veins po, no? So ito sila guys, these are specimens for gross description only. So gross described yun na siya guys, no? Tinitignan din yan siya natin ng mga medtech as well as ng pato sa histopath. Okay, daming ginagawa ng mga taga-histopath, no? So, next slide, we also have the specimen excluded from mandatory submission. So, these types of specimen, guys, hindi sila gina-require talaga na ipasa. Okay? For histopath. So, excluded na sila. So, anong mga specimen yun? We have yung mga donated bones, no? Kapag i-donate yung mga bones, hindi na siya gina-gross exam. We have bone segments din, hindi na rin siya gross exam. We also have yung mga cataracts, wala na yun sila gina-gross exam. As well as dental appliances and teeth. Obviously, ito sila, these are excluded din talaga sa mandatory submission. But, pag i-submit mo sila, pwede ba sila i-gross exam? Pwede naman. Pero, we highly discourage po na ipasa pa sila. Kasi, what for? 'Di ba? Dagdag na naghago-hago sa medtech, guys. Okay? So, for the next slide, ito rin, dagdag natin for the specimen excluded from mandatory submission, yung mga fat, 'di ba? During yung mga lipid suction. So, hindi yan sila gina-gross exam, guys. We have yung mga foreign bodies, 'di ba? Like such as baril, yung bala na pag tinamaan ka, what if ikaw yun, 'di ba? So, yung mga bala na nakuha diyan sa sa ER, then i-surgery yung patient, nakuha ng surgical team, hindi na ginapasa sa histopath for gross examination. Pero, itong mga bala na to, or mga foreign bodies na yan, can be submitted sa laboratory, pero hindi for histopathology, for microbiology, guys, to check if may dala-dala ba yung mga microorganisms po. Okay? And then we also have yung mga foreskin, 'di ba? So yung kanina kung nakita niyo yung prepuce natin, 'di ba? It falls under category A. So yun siya, can be submitted, but it is not mandatory. Okay? So we also have itong mga IUDs, no? So IUDs, guys, sa mga hindi nakakalam, these are intrauterine device, no? It is a piece of T-shaped plastic na kung saan gina-place siya sa loob ng uterus natin to prevent pregnancy. Mura siya ka ng condom para sa babae. Yan yung mga IUDs natin. Okay? So yan sila, guys, hindi yung gina-submit for gross examination po. Okay? So another thing po to remember, meron pa, medyo marami rin sila, no? So you need to make a list of these, guys, no? Once na napapanood na ninyo to, isulat nyo to sila lahat. Then memorize, or at least memorize talaga, guys, no? You can be familiar with this, but at least try to memorize at least 10 nito, 'di ba? So we have the medical devices such as catheters, gastronomy, tubes, stents, and sutures, no? Yan sila, guys, itong mga sutures natin, itong mga stent, kay these are excluded din po from mandatory submission. Okay? So medical devices that have not contributed to the patient's illnesses, injury, or death, these are excluded po talaga. And then we also have the middle ear ossicles po. This is also excluded. Okay? So meron pa, no? We also have orthopedic hardware and other radiopaque medical devices. Placentas, no, are excluded for mandatory submission. However, minsan yung mga OBs natin, yung mga nagpaanak good, they sometimes send it to the laboratory sa histopath, guys, for gross examination as well as tissue processing din talaga sa buong biopsy, no, ginasubmit nila, no. Yun yung siguro ko practice din ng mga OB rin talaga na i-submit ang placentas for biopsy. Okay, we also have the saphenous veins, no. These are also excluded po. Okay? And then last but not the least po, we have the skin or other normal tissue removed, no? Therapeutic radioactive sources, 'di ba? Remove from therapeutic radioactive sources, yung mga normal toenails and fingernails, obviously grabe naman kung ipasa pa nila pati yung kuko, no? So these are excluded from mandatory submission po sa histopath. So I think this is the last po for the specimen excluded from mandatory submission. 'Di ba, napakadami, guys. So make a list. Okay, so let's proceed to the next slide. So we have describing specimens and gross description. So we have number 1, identify the specimen. Ito na yung for the gross examination proper, guys, ha. So we need to identify the specimen, note and verify all anatomic structures. So obviously dapat meron ka basic knowledge sa anatomy. And then number 2, we need to identify the orientation markers used by the surgeon if available. So usually, guys, kapag available yung mga markers ng surgeon, kapag let's say medtech yung natasan na mag-gross exam, no matter how small yung specimen, guys, kapag merong orientation markers or yung mga sutures na yan, kay sila doc talagang ginapag-gross exam namin. Okay, so ano yung mga orientation markers na example? We have the inks, we have the nicks, we have the sutures, no? Yan silang tatlo, orientation markers po sila. So when I say orientation, guys, ito yung mga for you to know saan yung which way is up, no? Both in anatomical as well as in clock face orientation, no? Which way is up. Okay, yan, that's why we need the orientation markers po. So this is to give us the ability to do proper gross examination, kasi nga i-slice mo yung specimen so you're going to cut open the specimen, so dapat alam mo saan ka banda mag-cut. Okay, so let's proceed sa next slide. We have what we call inking. Okay, so when we say inking, guys, it is basically po putting ink sa mismong tissue sample. So inking is used for resection margins, embedding instructions, orientation, as well as to distinguish between samples, identify the cut surface, and then for when to use acetic acid. Okay, so ink dots instruct the embedder to embed the tissue in a certain way. So obviously, guys, no, after ng gross examination or during gross examination, guys, we put ink sa sample natin para pagdating na ng embedding, 'di ba, dapat yung flat surface yung nasa pinakailalim ng ating tissue embedding metallic embedding mold or yung ating paper boat. So we use ink dots po to give the embedder the idea kung paano yung proper na pag-embed. Usually din talaga sila, Doc, kapag once na mag-embed na kami, ginasabi rin talaga nila yan na ganito yung pag-embed ha, ganito yung gusto kong orientation. Kung hindi nila verbally ginasabi, kung busy sila, minsan nagaiwan na sila ng mga ink dots. Okay? So, meron tayong recommended color scheme, guys, no? For sa color ng ink na ginagamit. So, we have blue for superior, green for inferior, black for posterior or deep, red for medial, yellow for anterior, and orange for lateral. This is the recommended color scheme. Tandaan, recommended color scheme. So, do our pathologists follow this? Hindi. No, minsan meron talagang preferred color sila, Doc, or minsan din talaga kung ano lang yung available sa laboratory. Kung hindi available tong mga colors na to, kung yellow lang yung available na color, or minsan color blind si Doc, hindi niya trip lang talaga yung color na yan, minsan hindi niya ginagamit, guys, no? Depende na lang talaga kung ano yung ginagamit sa laboratory. But by practice po, we have recommended color scheme talaga. Okay? So minsan hindi siya nasusunod, pero ito talaga yung recommended color scheme. So please do take note of these colors, guys, kasi kung hindi man natatanong sa ating midterm exams, sa ating finals, no, it can be asked din sa board exam na ninyo pohon. Okay? So, ano yung mga recommended color scheme? So, please do memorize these colors po, or at least be familiar with this. Okay? So, let's proceed sa next slide. We are now in suturing, no? So, usually, this is done by the surgeon po to give us idea kung ano yung mga pasabot nila na orientation. Okay? So, for example, guys, this type of marker po sa 12 o'clock marker. So usually gina-indicate na ni doc ng surgeon sa histopath request. Okay? So magtatali yan siya dito sa piece ng ating sample that will give us the idea na ang orientation niya is pag ganito, no? So since 12 o'clock man siya, so sa tingin niyo tama ba to? Tama ba to? So ito yung tama, guys, no? 12 o'clock position, ana siya. Okay? So hindi to pwede, no? So, ingani dapat siya, guys, 12 o'clock. Okay? So, malaman nyo man yan, dito lang kayo mag-base sa ating clock, di ba? So, for example naman, guys, ito siya. Ito yung specimen na na-receive ninyo. So, since minsan nagalagay yan sila, doc, ng suture dito banda, then ginalagay niya sa histopath request na tag suture at 3 o'clock. So, kung ganito siya, anong o'clock, ano yung position yan? That is in the 7 o'clock, di ba? So, kailangan 3 o'clock. So, ganito yung ating suture position. Dapat nasa dito siya. Nga na siya. Okay? So, that is 3 o'clock ang suture niya. So, and then, another thing naman is yung 12 o'clock marker natin. Example nito. Ito, may inking na naginawa, no? Ang ating pathologist. So, itong inking, ang pato itong nagagawa nito, guys. Diba? So, 12 o'clock yung suture niya. Ganito. Okay? 12 o'clock. And then, during the time na mag-cut na, ganito siya i-cut. Ayan. To give you the idea na yung ating 1 and 2 yung ating 1 specimen is the red. Yung ating 2 specimen are ganitong color, part ng red, then yellow, blue. Nga na siya, guys, no? So, that is the power of inking. Usually, magod under the microscope, guys, makikita nila do kung saan yung limit ng ano nila, makita nila yan under the microscope na ito yellow na, dito ako nagmark last time. So ito yung part ng specimen natin na gusto ko na makita hanggang dito lang. Yung ana siya, guys, 'di ba? So usually pag mga ganito, guys, kasi sila doc na talaga tong mga nagalagay ng mga markers na to. Okay? So kami mga medtechs, no, igora jud mi mag-assist ilaha kanang mo ingon sila, doc, na ang first specimen kay color red, ang first block is red, second block is ganito yung colors na meron sa kanya, the third block is ganito. So kami igora jud ta magsulat, dapat ang ato ang task is dili lang jud ta bungol-bungol, guys. Okay? So minsan aside from that, no, aside sa gross description, guys, sa worksheet natin, nilalagyan natin yan ng drawing, no? Minsan tayo naglagay ng drawing or mismo sila doc ang nag-draw, okay? To give us the idea po kung ano yung mga slides na ma-produce natin, kung anong meron doon sa mga slides na yon. Okay? So, that is for the markers po, guys. Okay? So, number 3, no, ng gross description natin, we have describe all notable characteristic. Ito na yung nasabi ko, guys, no, dapat halos kompleto to sila. Okay? Type of specimen, the shape, the color, the texture and consistency, the odor, as well as the dimension and the weight. Okay? Sir, importante bang odor? Yes po naman, kung kaya siya ibutang, kasi meron mga good ibang specimen, guys, na sa sobrang maamoy, na overpower niya yung formalin natin. But, if yung ating histopath area, yung ating grossing area is merong exhaust, guys, no, minsan din na natin siya naamoy. So kami, we don't since amoy formalin man din lahat talaga, we don't indicate this, no, but this is actually considered po as a notable characteristic. Okay, so yung sa dimensions natin, we have the length, width, and the depth, no, yung sa height natin. These are rounded to the nearest 1 cm, no. Actually, guys, no, if kaya ninyo na by millimeter, lalo na kung maliit yung specimen, we use millimeters. Kung kaya naman na centimeter na talagang kaya, okay lang naman po. For multiple pieces naman, we indicate the size of the largest piece. Okay, only the largest piece yung ating indicate yung size. Don't worry, guys, there will be an example here kung example ng gross description po. Okay, but these are all kung ano yung mga under notable characteristic that we needed to describe during gross examination. Okay, so let's proceed to the next slide. So ngayon, we have the sectioning na po, yung magka-cut na talaga tayo ng specimen. We're going to cut the specimen. This is where we take a representative sample of the tissue, no, as well as we indicate the number of sections and blocks on the gross description. This is where specimen must fit easily into the standard cassette, which measures 3 by 2.5 by 0.4 cm, no? So the thickness should not be more than 0.3 centimeters to allow for the closing of the cassette and for the fixative to penetrate. When possible, edges of the tissue should be squared, no? That's why during sectioning talaga, guys, tayo talaga ang nag-set ng standard para pagdating ng embedding, hindi na tayo mahirapan, no? Hindi na mahirapan yung, what if hindi ko yung mag-embed, yung kapwa mo medtech, so hindi na mahirapan yung co-medtech mo mag-embed. Okay? So here sa sectioning, guys, you need to consider po yung mga different cassette size. Marami tayong mga different cassette size, pero yung mga standard na cassette size kay 3 by 2.5 by 0.4 cm po ang kanyang size, guys. Okay? So kung makita nyo, iba-iba. Okay? Yung ginagamit natin sa laboratory activities natin, those are tissue cassettes na ginagamit din sa other hospitals here in Davao City. Okay? So let's proceed with the next slide. So here, kapag small yung specimens natin, during cutting, we cut it serially about 2 mm thick to look for small lesions. Actually, guys, we need to cut the specimen din talaga para makita natin yung mga lesions. That's why, diba, always ako cut section shows, diba? So kapag visible yung lesions, so pwede mo indicate na cut section shows visible lesions, nga na. So lesions are then sampled for histologic exam. Here, since maliit yung specimen natin, we use filter paper po in wrapping the small sample. Kasi, diba, if we're going to take a look at the tissue cassettes, diba may mga butas-butas yan? Pwede man good na maglusod dyan yung specimen natin. So, to prevent that, we're going to get our sample, itong specimen natin na, in this case, meron pang ink, no? Ibabalot natin ng filter paper, then isabay natin lagay sa loob ng tissue cassette. Ingana siya, guys, no? That is for the small specimen. Okay? So, for the large specimen naman, we cut at an interval of 1 cm in thickness, no? Termed as bread loafing. So, ito yung tinatawag natin na bread loafing, guys, to ensure that pathologic areas or tumoral areas are identified. So, ito yung bread loafing, guys, no? Kung makita nyo, para siyang bread loaf ng tsura niya. Ang interval niyan is 1 cm po, no? Ang thickness niya. So, itong isang ganito, 1 cm yan siya. So, kapag tinanong kayo, it is the process of cutting a tissue at an interval of 1 centimeter in thickness. That is what we call bread loafing. Okay, so mura siya bread loaf jud. Okay, so we also have yung tinatawag natin na cytoprostatectomy, no? Wait lang. Cytoprostatectomy, yun pala yan, no? So kinukuha mismo yung ating prostate po dito, no? As well as yung ating bladder, no? Yung mga small seminal vesicles and nearby lymph nodes can also be removed in cytoprostatectomy. Okay? Kung sa babae, meron tayong tabso. Sa lalaki, meron tayong joke lang, hindi pala siya cyto, guys. Cystoprostatectomy. Okay? So, cystoprostatectomy, ulitin ko lang, is the surgery to remove the bladder and the prostates. The small seminal vesicles and nearby lymph nodes may also be removed here. Okay? So, kumpleto na siya. Sa lalaki po ito siya. Okay? So, dito guys, gina-cut open siya. At the same time, we do the bread loafing pa din, no? Para mapakita talaga yung mga pathologic area. So, before nag-cut si doc, 'di ba? Ginagawa is gross examination muna. Then we do the inking, no? Nagawa si doc ng inking dito. Ginawa niya, this side is blue, this side is red. So during the cutting guys, makita yan nila doc sa edges po ng sample na ito yung red na part, so ito yung blue na part, ito yung right, ito yung left. Parang ganoon guys, no? Dito ginagawa yun siya sa sectioning niya na ma-identify during the proper cutting. Okay? So let's proceed to the next slide. So also take note that in sectioning, paper tags are embedded in the tissue cassette, no? So labeled with accession number using pencil. Markers and pens will dissolve upon processing. So that's why I always tell you guys that the best marker we use in histopath is pencil po guys. Kasi yung mga pens and markers niyo, yung mga Sharpie ninyo, kay ma-dissolve yun na siya guys, no, during tissue processing. Okay? If printed naman, dot matrix must be used. Okay? So kapag printed yung ating mga paper tags, kay dapat yung dot matrix po ang ginagamit natin. Okay? So, original containers with specimens are saved until case is signed out, no? This will serve as backup evidence in cases of discrepancies. Hindi yan siya tinatapon agad, guys. That's why I told you always that yung mga specimen containers, guys, hindi siya tinatapon sa basurahan, but rather we keep it in the histopath pa for a week, and then we proceed it sa storage po, sa stock room. And then, tsaka pa siya matapon after ilang months pa na siya guys, no? Minsan 3 months, 4 months, no? Merong ibang laboratories po na they keep histopath samples for a year. Yes po guys, no? So, ganun siya ka-importante. Bakit? This will serve as backup evidence po in cases of discrepancy. Kasi what if yun talaga yung pinasa na sample pero gina-deny ng kung saan hospital galing yung patient na hindi yan yung pinasa namin, ito yung pinasa natin. At least meron kayong evidence po. So example ng paper duct guys, kaya ito ganito siya, no, ginalagay sa loob ng specimen. But kami nag-accession na lang talaga kami sa mismong cassette. Itong mismong cassette na to, diyan kami susulat ng accession number niya. Okay? So tandaan dito nga slide, kay pencil ang ginagamit po. Okay? So let's proceed to the next slide po guys. So this is an example of a surgical pathology report po guys, no? As you can see, patient's name are indicated here, case number, blah blah blah. So dito na tayo. So minsan nauna ang diagnosis guys na ginapakita. Ano yung diagnosis nila doc? Now we have skin, left axilla, punch biopsy, axillary granular, parakeratosis. Yan yung diagnosis ng ating pathologist guys. For the gross examination guys, we have ito, no, parang bullet form siya. Punch biopsy of the skin, left axillary yung site. Ang size kay 0.4 by 0.4 cm. Excision depth, kung gaano ka lalim ang pagkuha, 0.5 cm. And then specimen is bisected entirely submitted in one cassette for microscopic examination. So ibig sabihin TS in one block. Yun yung pasabot dire, no, na side, TS in one block. So itong microscopic description guys, no, after tissue processing, after ng staining and all, pag slides na si doc na nagasulat nito. Okay, so yan yung microscopic examination niya, kaya siya nagkaroon ng ganitong diagnosis, no. axillary granular parakeratosis. Okay? So, another example of this, ito po. Example ng gross description, we have the specimen consists of an approximately 5 by 7 centimeters portion of gastric mucosa that is surrounded and underlying by a lobulated mass which is 10 by 9 by 8 centimeters. So, kung makikita ninyo guys, dito bandang area sa gross description niya, very well thought out po yung ating pagdidetalye ni Doc ng kanyang gross description, 'di ba? So, dapat ganito rin kayo guys when you do gross examination po. Kasi, yung tinuro ko sa inyo is just the basic po talaga na parang hindi kayo mataha or mawala good during gross examination. Kasi, minsan magod dapat yung grammar natin should be dapat binabantayan natin, dapat tama yung sinasabi natin during gross exam. Kasi tandaan niyo if kayo na gross exam, ibig sabihin kayo yung first touch sa specimen. Ang usually mapunta na lang kila doc yan is ang slide na. So, babasahin talaga niya yung nakasulat ninyo doon sa gross description ninyo. Okay? So, kung makita niyo dito sa pinaka last part, diba? Areas of yellow necrosis are scattered through the tumor. Okay? So, may nakita sila ng necrosis po. And then, representative portions submitted. So, ibig sabihin, pag sinabi mong representative portions, ibig sabihin, RS po, representative sections, no? So, ano ang kulang dito? So, I think, ang kulang dito banda sa example na ito is, wala po na-indicate kung ilang tissue cassettes yung nagamit niya. And usually, nandito yung banda, no? Dito banda, representative portion submitted in ilang blocks ba? 3 blocks, 4 blocks, 'di ba? So it should be indicated po talaga. Okay? So next slide natin. This is an example po ng histopath result na nandito sa Pilipinas, guys. Kung pinagkaiba kanina yung sa first natin na example is naka-table form, dapat manggod ay naka-bullet form, dapat manggod guys kay dito sa Pinas we do it in paragraph form, guys, no? So example nito kay we have specimen consists of tan to white rubbery piece of tissue measuring 1.8 by 0.5 centimeters, totally submitted in one block. Cut section shows white smooth surface, block 1. So ibig sabihin tawag yan, isa lang yung sample natin, yung left tonsillar mass na nakuha, kay nalagay lang din siya sa isang tissue block lang din. Okay? Ito yung microscopic description ni Doc. The lymphoid tissue exhibits in large and variably sized lymphoid follicles. The covering stratified squamous epithelium is unremarkable. So, ang diagnosis niya, chronic hyperplastic tonsillitis. No, in short, tonsillitis siya. Okay? So, ito yung sa Pinas, yung kanina, yung bullet na yan yung uso sa ibang bansa. Okay? So, I hope sana na-clarify sa inyo, guys, no? Ma-realize mo po na ninyo kung saan yung gibuhat last time, yung nag-lab activity tayo, no? Na, ay, okay, tama yung gross examination na ginawa ko. Okay, so this is the correct po. Actually, correct man lahat, pero we're trying to base it here in the Philippines. Okay, so let's proceed sa next slide. So we have other specimens for consideration, guys. This is the last part na po. So we have the brain, no? So brain is fixed first before gross. Okay? Tandaan, fixed first before gross ang brain. Tied at the circle of Willis and suspended, 'di ba? And must not touch side of the container to avoid deformity. Okay? So it is fixed in 10% neutral buffer formalin for 2 to 3 weeks po, guys. No, grabe katagal i-fix ang brain. Because the brain is compared sa other tissue specimen is quite hollow, maraming mga butas-butas sa part ng brain natin. That should be dapat fully submerged dapat siya sa formalin para maka-infiltrate yung formalin natin ng mabuti. At the same time, mapa-preserve niya yung mga yung mga tissue, yung mga cells na nandoon. Okay? So yan yung sa brain natin, no? Tandaan natin 2 to 3 weeks po, matagal. Next, we also have yung ating colon cancer. So, na samples, no? It can be colon polyps, guys, no? This is the base. The area where the cutary arteries are located is always linked. Okay, yan yung kinukuha for colon cancer, yung mga polyps natin. For the small polyps, guys, ang ginagawa dyan pag-cut is bisected, no? Hinati sa 2 beses and placed into 1 cassette. Okay? Kapag large naman yung polyps, guys, no? Sides are trimmed away from the stalk. And the stalk is placed in a separate cassette. So, parang ganito siya, guys, no? Pag large yung polyp, guys, kay kinakat natin siya ganito. Ganito 4. Tapos, ang stalks natin kay separate cassette sila, no? Separate. While yung sides naman are in a one cassette lang sila. Para ang itsura niyan sa slide is 3 slides ang ipasa natin. Okay, sana na-guess niyo, no? So, kapag large polyps, guys, yung sides are trimmed away from the stalks, no? So, join sila together sa isang cassette. While yung stalks naman na matira, kay separate cassette sila. So, in this one particular large polyps, guys, kay 3 cassettes siya or 3 blocks lahat. So, 3 blocks equals 3 slides, no? So, ganito ang orientation niyan. Yung mag-embed, alam niya na yan. Pag makita niya na ganito yung specimen, alam niya na yung i-expect niya during embedding. Okay? So, kapag small naman, cut lang into 2, then, yan. It's either, kung magkasya sa isang cassette lang, yung paghati mo dito, ganun din siya, isang cassette lang. Pero kung hindi, no, isa-isa sila. Okay lang din yan siya, guys. Okay? So, these are other specimens for consideration. And then, we also have dermatologic specimens, no? In this case, guys, always tandaan ninyo, vertical orientation is always maintained, di ba? Using markers po. So, lagay ng marker dito si Doc, no? At 12 o'clock position, kasi may suture dito. So, dito red, dito blue. So, vertical, so patayo siya, no? Punch biopsies are submitted whole. Tissues greater than 4 mm are dissected. For the skin ellipses naman, serially cut along the short axis at 2 to 3 mm interval. The two of the most distal sections or tip are submitted into 2 separate cassettes. Remainder is submitted in 1 or more cassettes. So, ganito yan siya, guys, no? Ang pag-cut. So, ang ginasabi dito, itong ating, tawag yan, tip, ito sila, ito, the most distal tip po, guys. Kay, separated sila into 2 cassettes. So, isa-isa yan sila. Isa dito, isa dito. While the rest, kung makaya sila ng in 1 cassette, 1 cassette lang. Pero kung hindi, pwede siya hatiin na tatlo sa isang cassette, then tatlo na naman sa isang cassette. Para ang mangyari, in this particular specimen po, guys, itong nandito, kay, ang number of slides na magawa natin dito, kay 1, 2, 3, and 4. Bali, 4 slides siya lahat. Okay? So, basta tandaan, pag dermatologic specimens, guys, they are always in vertical orientation. Okay? So, next specimen for consideration is the eyes, no? To which we inject fixative first. Unang fixative, then we gross it. Okay? So, inject fixative first, then gross. Okay? Yan yung sa eyes. And then, next is for the hard tissues, guys, no? So, for the hard tissues, guys, first, we wash it in running water, then immerse in tissue softeners, no? So, usually kapag hard yung mga specimen, meron tayong mga tissue softeners na which will be tackled puhon-puhon, no? Malalaman na ninyo kung ano mga tissue softeners na ginagamit natin. But, tandaan lang ninyo muna, for hard tissues, no? Gina-wash siya sa running water, then gina-immerse sa tissue softeners, guys, no? Are they also fixed din ba? Yes po, gina-fix din sila afterwards. Okay, so let's proceed to the next slide. So we have next is the hollow structures, no, such as this one, must be cut open longitudinally and fixed with cottons inside, no. Kapag hollow yung structures na ginapasa, guys, like this one, so i-cut yun siya open po, and then lagyan ng cotton sa loob para yung shape niya ma-maintain, and then before siya i-fix with formalin kung ano yung fixative na available. Okay? For the lymph nodes, guys, these are most important components of tumor resections because they are essential for the prognosis and planning therapeutic option. It should be received fresh and not immersed in formalin. So, example po ng specimen na kailangan hindi muna siya i-formalin, guys, is itong lymph nodes po. Okay? Should be received fresh and not immersed in formalin. So, yan yung lymph nodes. Okay? The node is bivalve and entirely submitted. So, ginakuha lang siya, no? Bivalve, ito dalawa. 1, 2. Ba, ito yung lymph node. I-cut lang siya into 2. Okay? Tapos, ipasa na siya diretso. Okay? For the sentinel lymph nodes, guys, usually first lymph node to be evolved during metastasis po, entirely submitted. However, large specimen will be bisected and submitted into 1 or 2 cassettes. Okay? So, tandaan natin that kapag bivalve yung ating node, 'di ba, ginapasa siya lahat. Pag sentinel lymph node naman, example nito, ito siya. Kapag malaki, kay gina-cut siya in half, pak, Tapos, gina-submit siya into 1 or 2 cassettes din. Kung magkasya lang talaga sa cassette, guys, no? Depende talaga yan. So, ito yung mga nodes, guys. So, ito sila. Grabe kadaming mga lymph nodes po. Okay, so these are, importante sila kasi nga, di ba, these are essential for the prognosis and planning ng therapeutic options po ng ating, for the patient's sake. Okay? So, kapag ang specimen natin is lymph node, we need to take good care and proper handling po talaga. Kasi kami guys, usually ang lymph node, maliit lang naman yan siya eh. Kapag maliit lang, magkasya sa isang cassette, usually, diretso na, entirely submitted na siya in one cassette. Pero kapag medyo malaki, gina-cut namin siya in half, tapos gina-try din siya fit sa cassette. Kapag magkasya, yun na, submit. Pero pag hindi, we separate it po. Okay? So, yan yung tandaan natin for the lymph nodes. Okay? For the next slide, we have the mastectomy, guys. No, mastectomy, guys, is the removal of the breast. No, here we note for the weight. No, gina-weigh natin yung ating mga breast. We also note the size of the breast and axillary dissection. Kung merong sutures, no, gina-indicate natin. Kaya minsan ginalagyan nila ng surgeon ng sutures yan. No, we also note for the skin ellipse, nipple scars, and basal margin. Kung hanggang saan yung yung margin of cutting nila, doc, no? Diyan gina-note din natin 'yan. Okay? So tandaan, mastectomy is the removal of the breast po. Okay? So next we have the pediatric specimen. So under dito, guys, kay additional processes such as IHC, flow cytometry, cytogenetics, and molecular genetics, to which it is often done. This may require fresh, frozen, or specially processed tissues, no, for the pediatric specimen. Kasi guys, minsan, pag pediatric yung specimen natin, napakahirap kunan ng mga sample yung mga taong yan. Why so? Aside sa bata pa sila, once na mag-undergo ng surgery, di ba, their immune system are not that high pa, hindi pa ganun kalakas, same sa atin na adults. So that's why, special process po talaga to sila, no? Kapag pediatric yung specimen natin, these are special cases po. Rare lang po ko nakadawat og kanang mga pediatric specimen, guys. Okay? So, kapag specimen with tumor naman, yung ating ma-receive na usually, halimbawa, for example, yung patient natin is previously diagnosed na with tumors. For example, dati sa left breast, yung pinasa niya, positive siya for tumor cells. Then, ngayon, nagpasa naman yung surgeon ulit na after 3 months, nagpasa siya ng right breast naman. So, ibig sabihin, dito na time, we have the idea na baka nagmetastasize na, no? So, anong gagawin natin dyan? First, we identify the site and size of the tumor, no? Sila, doc, klaro talaga yan nila, nakikita yan talaga nila. And then, location and structure invaded by the tumor. We also have yung vascular invasion. We also indicate the presence of lymph node kapag meron bang lymph node na malapit, kasi kapag merong lymph node na malapit, guys, usually ginasali na rin yung kuha nila, doc, no, for the gross examination. Ginasali na rin nila sa tissue cassette lagay. Okay? As well as the distance from the resection margin, no? Ito yung mga margin na kung saan dito ba nag-cut yung ating surgeon. Okay? So, here po, kapag may tumor yung specimen, this is an example po ng specimen na merong tumor, no? So, gina-indicate yan lahat kapag for example, ito yung tumor natin, no? Yan. Kapag meron ng necrosis, guys, nakikita mo mga dyan pa kanang visually, makita mo na may pagka brown, black na siya. So usually pag chine-check agad kapag merong lymph node na malapit. Kapag merong lymph node na malapit, chine-check if na-invade na ba yun siya ng tumor din. Okay? And usually kahit na hindi yun siya na-invade yan, kung malapit yan, sinasali nila din yan, kuha nila doc. Okay? Chine-check din presence ng hemorrhage kung meron. Ito silang lahat. This can be done during sa gross examination. Kasi mag-sectioning ka man, mag-slice ka man, di ba? Mag-cut ka man. So, ganun yan siya, guys. So, I hope na may naintindihan kayo sa ating lecture for today. So, our reference is, ito pa din sila, no? Si Bruce Gregorius pa din, as well as yung kay Santiago Aguilar na basic histopathologic techniques po. So, itong dalawang reference natin for the topics natin ngayong araw. Okay, so I hope sana na may nasabtan kayo, guys, no? So please do read the references. Ito lang talaga sila. Okay, so I wish you well and good luck sa mga endeavors ninyo and bye bye.